Hey there, boys and ghouls. Welcome to another episode of Hollow Weekly. Nick and George here with another notch in How Low Can We Go with 30% Silent Hill.
30% on Rotten Tomatoes, Silent Hill, and spoiler, I think that's criminal already.
Exactly.
But we'll get to the ratings in a bit.
Exactly. So we're going to start off with a new segment, 5 questions, and then our little dive into the film.
Yep.
And so here we go.
So, I mean, that's the thing is most of these movies, because they're older in the How Low Can We Go series, didn't want to just talk about the movies themselves without addressing other things that might pop into our brain. So after we watch the movie, we have these 5 questions that came up that we wanted to address. And the first one is going to be all you.
Yes.
Because you were a gamer and I don't do video games.
So first off, out of all the video game movies like ever done, like I think last year like Warcraft came out. I think there was a Hitman film somewhere. I still think Silent Hill is probably the best video game made into a film.
Silent Hill, Resident Evil.
Silent Hill.
Silent Hill.
I love Resident Evil because of like the time it came into my life and the soundtrack for it. Like got me into like all the like heavy metal and all that shit. And like what was it, like 5th grade going into 6th?
Sure.
But I think as a film, like Silent Hill aligns a little more with like the games that I played. I only played Silent Hill 2, and then there was one on the PlayStation, the PSP that I played, and I don't remember the title of that one, but it was like, but it was in this. It was Silent Hill.
Sure.
Okay, so question number 1 for 5 questions.
Yes.
If you like certain horror games, which movies would you pair them with?
Yes. So let's do a few.
So it's like a wine and a cheese. Like, what's a good?
Exactly.
And I want to bring that
Right,
level
exactly.
of.
I'm just going to say my one, and I actually this makes sense to me because I'm a big reader. But the pairing that I had was, if you liked Alan Wake, you'll like the movie In the Mouth of Madness.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. I never played
But
Alan
you've got
Wake.
better ones.
Yeah, so I really thought about this. So, and I didn't want it to be like, if you like the movie Silent Hill, you will love the Silent Hill games. If you like Resident Evil, play the Resident Evil games. I was trying to think of like...
That's a cop-out.
Yeah, I didn't want that to be a no-brainer. So
Right.
my first one is, if you like the movie if you like the game Dead Space,
Okay.
my suggestion is watch Alien.
Makes
Because
sense.
there's a lot of inspiration from that game or that movie into that game.
Totally.
So you'll see a lot of stuff that's very similar, like the ship.
Yep.
And then I was even thinking like, well, there's also the Alien Isolation game.
Of course.
So
I was just thinking that because I've actually played that.
yeah. So I would even go with that one just in terms of like survival horror inside the spaceship type of deal. If you like the game Outlast, which I haven't played the second one, which is on like a farm. Outlast, the main thing about that is you're in this big like asylum and you run around with a camcorder, and when you can't see a lot of stuff you have to look through the camcorder.
I'm looking at it right now.
Flip on the night vision. For that game I would recommend either Rec or Quarantine, either or.
Makes total sense.
Just because of the camera first person perspective. Then we have a game. I played the second one. I didn't play the first one, but I'm going to go with the game Fatal Frame. It's a Japanese game where you take photos of these ghosts. So naturally, I'm going to put Shutter
Naturally.
on that one. I feel like that's
Right.
probably one of the. I think that's my second best pairing. One of my favorite games when it came out was Left 4 Dead, a zombie game. Get to point A, get to point B. And I was also thinking there's a lot of zombie games, and it's real easy to be like, if you like this zombie game, watch a Dead, Romero film.
Sure.
But then I wanted to think of something a little easier. So Left 4 Dead, you want to get point A to point B. When we play, we try to do it as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Because the longer you hang around, the harder shit gets. So I went with, if you like Left 4 Dead, Train to Busan.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That's a good pairing. And then my favorite pairing on the list is a game. I know they had sequels, but me and a buddy went through and we played this. It's a game called Obscure.
Okay.
It was a cooperative survival horror that takes place in a school, and you get to pick I forget, you get to have a handful of different characters. It's been so long since I played it. But I would pair that with The Faculty.
Oh, good call.
That's my favorite pairing right there.
Yeah, that's excellent.
All right, there. So that's
making me want to watch The Faculty now.
Oh, it's when I came up with the comparison, I was like, man, because we did that for How Low Can We Go, and I was like, oh man, I forgot how much I really.
I can't believe that was in How Low Can We Go. That's critics.
I know, and the fact that we're here like even lower with Silent Hill,
I know,
which I will say
hell?
is probably one of the has some of the prettiest shots.
It's a gorgeous movie.
It is so
It's a
well
really
shot.
gorgeous movie, which is funny because that's one of the questions on here, which was, I'll skip to this question.
Yes.
What one single image from that movie would you frame and put on a wall?
Easy, and I want to be able to put this in the show notes so
yep.
when they see mine,
Yep.
real quick, is it's in the beginning, which is crazy. It's in the first 5 minutes of the film, or something like that. And I was expecting it to be like one of the crazy, gory, like nighttime start, like when the whatever you call like the siren goes off, that stuff. But it was actually when their daughter was about to jump off or fall into the cliff. The parents save her, and they're sitting there hugging her, and the camera like pans around them, and there's really low lit, and then in the background there's this really weird lit up cross.
Yeah, you showed it to me. It's such a cool shot.
It reminds me of like a somewhat reminds me of like No Country for Old Men. Like it looks like something that Roger Deakins would shoot.
Yeah, for sure. That's so cool you said that, because I'm thinking about when Josh Brolin was running away. He was getting chased in the beginning of No Country for Old Men, and there's that shot like up.
That's the same one I'm thinking of.
Exactly. If you have an Amazon Fire TV or you got Silent Hill on Amazon, you'll see my shot because Amazon actually chose it as their thumbnail for when you buy the movie, which is a really cool shot of her. The Silent Hill's all misted out behind her, and she looks scared but determined, and she's looking up at something awful. And it's that angle of making her look. You realize how like alone in this she is,
yeah,
and how small she is compared to some of the things that she has to fight. And then at the bottom of the shot is all this like debris and rubble, but they look like in a weird way, sort of like bat wings surrounding her, like just coming up off the ground a little bit. It's just a really, really cool shot. But the movie is just absolutely ravishing. Like the way it's filmed is just crazy beautiful. So when it's not disgusting, like because it's got a really effective disgusting part.
I forgot how much of a creature feature
right
that movie is.
I know, right?
All the different designs you get, like it's just such a treat.
Yeah.
Every few scenes you get some weird creature. Like you start off with like the guy who was hanging there with the gas mask, and you get those like burning children.
Yep.
And then my favorite,
they're amazing.
I think my favorite creature real quick is when the cop meets up with her, and it's like that two-legged acid shooting thing.
Yeah. Well, and that to me is like, this is a grim movie with not a lot of comedy, but that's my laugh out loud scene, because the cops like the cop's got a gun on this thing with no arms and acid, and it looks like it's a sack of shit, and he's just heading straight towards him, making this unnerving growling sound, like whatever, and the heroine of the movie is like, shoot it, and she's like, freeze, hold it right there, mister, whatever. Dude, it's got no
Officer
arms.
Dewey.
Just shoot it. Like, you don't have to interrogate this guy. All right, next question.
Go
for
Pyramid Head.
Yes.
Is one of the most underrated creatures in horror.
Yes. His design is amazing. I forgot how scary he is.
It is very intimidating. So name some more. I came up with 2.
Okay, I came up with 5.
Okay, so this will be your video game.
We don't have to yeah, exactly.
Okay, you start.
We don't have to alternate. All right, so we don't need to talk long about most of these, but so the premise of this is I realized I knew Pyramid Head was cool, and I almost wish he was in the movie a little bit more. I just think I remember being terrified the first time that he came on the screen, because I had never seen anything like him. I hadn't played the game, so I was totally.
I believe his first appearance is in the second.
In the game.
In the second game, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I could be wrong, but that's where.
But and the thing is, like that last scene where he does his last kill, where he basically just pulls that woman apart, like that shot is just. It's unbelievable. He's so intimidating, right? This movie deserves way more love from the creature feature side of horror. You're totally right. So some other underrated creatures I came up with. So first of all, Mimic. You remember this movie? It's Del Toro, right?
I don't remember a whole lot.
Okay, so it's insects that can sort of mimic human beings. and it's just really, really cool how I think the creatures in Mimic are some of the most well thought out monsters in horror in terms of their rules and what makes them scary. And I heard that Del Toro actually re-edited this movie and did a cut because he wasn't happy with how the studio mangled it. So I would love to see that if he's ever going to release it, because apparently he's only done it for himself.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Like, what the hell? If I were reading what I saw online, right? But anyway, they're really, really creepy, cool insect creatures. And there's this one scene where this guy's trying to get away and he's trying to pull himself out of a hole, and this insect is just looming behind him, and you can barely make it out because it's so like well camouflaged, like with his background, or whatever. And all of a sudden, the actor, he nailed it. This insect just grabbed him from beneath, and then I don't know what it did to him, but he just died instantly, and you just saw all the life go out of his face. And it was just a really creepy, cool scene. So I got Mimic. I want to give a shout out to 1988's The Blob. That creature.
Oh yeah.
Holy crap! That thing just is such a unique, and that remake was so good, and the way they used. I mean, that's just a hard thing to do, to manipulate. It's just a blob.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you got to get creative with how it's going to kill people and what it's going to do, and they just knocked it out of the park.
That's an excellent choice.
I got Pumpkinhead. The practical effects I just thought were just amazing for him. And then here's my two kind of out of left field ones. We've actually talked about this one time on the podcast before. There are these creepy fucking creatures in a movie called The Beastmaster. They're like batwing creatures, but they eat people by bringing their arms together, and then the wings come together, and then they secrete some kind of like the fly juice, like Jeff Goldblum would do when he eats. And then they would just basically liquefy people. And they actually turn out to be good guys, like on the good guys' side at the end, but they're so damn creepy. Like, I can't.
Any sort of liquefying of a human.
Oh yeah, no, totally. But the one that I feel like never gets talked about because it's not actually in a horror movie.
Don't say my answer.
Is there's no way you have this. There's no way. Is Medusa from Clash of the Titans?
Oh.
The original Clash of the Titans. So I just want to talk about this real quick for 1 second, because she was scary as shit. And what makes it even more scary is you can't look directly at her, which means you're in the same situation as kind of the hero for most of the chase scene when she's trying to hunt people down and turn them to stone. Because you're looking at her through reflections or off the glowing of the shield or whatever. And there's a few shots where you see her straight on or whatever, but I remember at the end of that movie when Harry Hamlin pulls the Medusa's head out of the sack and holds it up to kill the Kraken, like that head comes up and I looked away. I was like, no, you're not. You can't trick me. Like, this is bullshit. You're gonna turn me to stone through this movie. Like, she just had like this power to her. And what was really, really amazing was when she's beheaded. So I don't think you've seen the original Clash of the Titans.
I've seen the Medusa part.
You have seen the Medusa
So
part.
I know like her snarl that she has.
Totally. So she rattles. She's got a rattlesnake tail. So that's a creepy sound while she's hunting you. But he beheads her, and then she leaks this acid blood that kind of melts his shield, and her body is still fighting to stay alive. So it's like slithering around on the ground where she's got no head. And then at the end, when he holds up Medusa's head, her eyes activate. Like, they go green and the stakes start to move again, and she's just a head. It's just so cool. Like, it's just an amazing design. And then end of this is the crappy Clash of the Titans remake that brought us to release the Kraken.
Yeah.
Holy shit, did they fuck that up? Like,
I remember
it's
seeing
so
that in the
bad. But the Medusa thing is so bad. So first of all, they made her attractive, which makes no sense, except for when she snarls and then she turns ugly.
Because her whole thing was
she's so ugly when you look at her,
yeah.
and turn stone. But also, like, yeah, whatever. But the other thing that they really, I mean, there's no menace in that scene. It's crappy CGI. It's just terrible the way they execute. All that was terrible. But the thing that really blew my mind from that was that she's such a terrifying figure, and to make her so bland and generic is like a crime against cinema. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. So Okay. What do you?
Oh, that movie sucked. The trailer was great.
The trailer was
the
great.
trailer sold me on that film, and then I went and I saw it, and I was like, yeah, that guy sucks.
There is one thing though, like I've always liked when creatures do this. The dragon in Game of Thrones did this in this battle scene where they built a huge like crossbow that would theoretically kill the dragon, and they shoot the dragon with it, and the dragon lands, and he just like with contempt smashes this thing to smithereens with his tail. And that's the one thing that the new Clash of the Titans did that the other one didn't, was when Medusa turned this one guy to stone, she went past him and then her tail smashed him into fragments.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Which was kind of cool.
Yeah. All right, they didn't come. There was some cool stuff scattered in there. That's fine. We'll admit it.
Okay.
Okay, so I only got 2.
Okay.
I'm going to kick off with another Del Toro. I'm going to go with The Pale Man and Pan's Labyrinth.
Good call.
For those of who's the Pale Man? Just put your hands up to your face, and you know exactly which character we're talking about.
Exactly right.
I just that whole movie. I was actually considering putting the Fawn up there, and then I was considering putting the Fawns. No, but I really like the Fawn.
Don't jump the shark.
I liked the Fawn too because he always made that like weird like like noise or whatever the fuck it was. And
totally.
He actually scared me the most.
That makes sense.
in the film, but I had to give it to the Pale Man. He didn't scare me the most. The Pale Man did, obviously. Just from the design of putting your eyeballs in your hands.
Totally one of them.
It almost kind of reminds me. There was an old Nickelodeon show called Ah Real Monsters, and one of them, I think his name was Stench or something like that. Anyways, he was just like he looked like a hairy testicle, but basically he would hold his hands or his eyes in his hands like that and to get around.
No,
so it was kind of cool.
Actually, aren't there characters in Clash of the Titans that the witches pass their eye around? That's weird. What a weird coincidence.
A lot of eyeballs.
A lot of eyeballs.
You gotta do weird shit with your eyes to make the underrated creature list.
Exactly.
And then the second one I have is
So that means the young Frankenstein dude should be on our list.
Or well, then that wasn't a creature because I was rewatching Ash versus Evil Dead, and when Pablo goes to his uncle's house, Ash takes ayahuasca and he's tripping, and the uncle has an eyeball in his mouth, and Ash is like tripping balls, and he goes, "You got something in your thing there?" He starts chewing on it. He goes, "No, don't do that," and then he like chomps on it, and goo like splashes out of his mouth. Eyeballs are just a weird thing in general. Totally. So my only other choice that I came up with, because I was really I was trying to think of like what's an underrated creature. Like I didn't want to have to like Google it. I was trying to think of like what's off the top of my head, the one thing I could think of. And the people I came up with was the Peacock family from I'm looking at your face.
Yeah.
From the X-Files episode Home.
Yes.
The inbred people.
Yes.
I consider those creatures.
Good call.
I know they're just inbred, but
no,
those are that's a creature. You can't tell me it's not.
A terrifying episode. Shout out to X-Files coming back.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I remember them looking weird. Then I went and re-looked at their design when I was like, I want to put them on the list, and they're still pretty terrifying. It's sort of like Wrong Turn-ish style, but I think their design looks great, and the fact that it was network television when it was, and for how scary it was, I was like, and you hardly see a lot of people talk about it because it's an X-Files episode that sort of
we talked about the Wrong Turn design being way better than anyone remembers, really.
Yeah, and I think this is in that same boat. So I had to give them a shout out. Plus that episode. If there's if you're listening to this episode and you're like me, you only see a handful of them. Home is definitely, if you want like
you're
a good
horror fan,
that is the one.
Yep.
And if you need something light, go to Postmodern Prometheus. Get a little bit of Cher singing what is it whatever that Memphis song is. Okay, so next question.
Yes.
Are fantasy world movies as scary as real world movies?
Yes. So let's clarify what that means.
Yes.
Because Silent Hill brought this to our minds because one of the things Silent Hill is a made-up place with its own made-up rules, right? So it's not like Haddonfield is a town. It's not a real town, but it's just like any town that you live in the Midwest, right? So there's no rules, there's nothing fantastic about it, there's nothing like that, right? So the question to me is like, if you think about like real world horror movies like Silence of the Lambs or Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer or whatever, and then you compare it to the scariest of the ones that take place in a fantasy land, fantasy world, right? So I would count like Cabin of the Woods, the back half of the movie, as that, right?
As fantasy?
As yeah, I mean it's in a made up place where that clearly doesn't exist, where they store all the monsters and
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
that's not a thing, right? So, but the weird thing is, I don't think of Alien as like a fantasy horror movie, even though that's clearly not a ship that exists. But it's just clearly recognizable as like if that took place on a submarine, it would basically be the same movie, right? So it's not really, to me, that's not really like a fantasy. Now, when you get on the planet, you start doing stuff like Prometheus or whatever. That's clearly another thing, right? So it's not as easy to figure out as you think.
Here's what I came up with.
Okay,
because I was thinking more of just like, what actually scared me, and I came up with two examples. One I will call real world, and then one we'll call the fantasy world.
Cool.
So when The Witch came out, it was trash night, much like tonight.
Yes.
And I remember seeing it, and when we came home, I was like, "Oh shit, I gotta take the trash out." And then Alex joked around, going, "Hope the witches don't get you." And I was like, "God damn it!" And because I can freak myself out, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to do it now." So, and
Are you calling that real world or fantasy?
I'm calling that real world.
Okay, good.
Because technically that's supposed to be.
I would call that too.
So, but I was also thinking like, what's some other shit that scared me? I was gonna say as a kid, but the Witch was just a few years ago. But another example of something that scared me was in the Lord of the Rings. In the beginning of the Fellowship, they're given like the quick history of everything, and then there's a shot of they mention where the ring's at now, and it shows Gollum on a rock, sort of this little like rock pile, and then he looks and his eyes glow, and that shot scared the hell out of me. So when I was little, I think I was in like fifth grade or something when that came out. After I saw that shot, whenever I'd go upstairs and have to turn the lights off behind me, I'd sprint up. So I was thinking both of them had an equal.
Sure.
They both scared me to some degree. So I'm trying to think of like. So I would say yes, fantasy films
can be as scary as real world films.
Yes.
Because here's the thing. I think the whole question turns on whether you're terrified by stuff that could really happen to you, or if there's no possibility of it happening to you. Now it just makes it less scary to you, right? So like I forgot actually how scary the Nazguls were in Lord of the Rings. Like the end fight between. That's pure horror. That fucking thing is a nightmare. But you're never going to get killed by a Nazgul, right? So does that mean that it's less scary than if you go see a movie where, you see something like where you're dealing with a serial killer, like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer is a terrifying movie, right? And you could meet someone like that, and then you could get killed like that, right? So the question is, what is it that scares you? I think that changes it from person to person.
Yeah, and that's what makes it a little. But for me. Because like I can always psych myself out. Like there was for some reason stairs always scared the hell out of me. Like when I go to the basement to do laundry, I would always be like, "What if I heard like a chainsaw behind me going up the stairs?" And then that would scare him. And then because we had a couple flights of stairs at our house, and then we had a mirror at the top one. And I remember thinking like, how scary would it be if you get to the top of the stairs and there's like a reflection, like someone in the back of you. So,
no wonder you're a horror fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Spent your whole childhood terrifying.
just to scare myself.
All right, so I'm going to answer this as saying that I think that the real world ones scare me one notch higher,
but not a lot,
than the fantasy ones,
okay.
but not by a lot. But I'm going to try to get some objectivity in this argument real quick. You ready? You ready?
Okay. If I say no and you get no activity, then
then I'm going to get a mirror and a pair of stairs. All right, so Complex, right before Halloween, came out with the list of the 50 scariest movies. And the list is pretty good. It's pretty representative of scary horror movies, right? So check this out. Number one, the scariest. I'm going to go backwards in order.
Okay.
Right? Their scariest movie is Texas Chainsaw Massacre at 1. Behind that's The Shining at 2. Behind that's Night of the Living Dead at 3. Behind that's Black Christmas at 4. Behind that's Rosemary's Baby at 5. So as it goes on and on, I was like, how far am I going to get up this list before I hit a movie that's actually fantasy? And guess where I got?
50.
No, not 50. 18. 18, where they threw in Inland Empire, which is really bizarre that even made the list, because if you're going to pick a Lynch movie for horror, you pick Mulholland Drive. But I noticed the Alien, 28 Days Later, The Omen. The vast majority of this list, when it's so here's the thing: this list isn't best horror movies of all time. Mm-hmm. This list is scariest horror movies of all time, right? And on the list of the scary horror movies, I went through and counted. There are 4 that I consider fantasy-ish.
What were the others?
And not in a movie. I mean, this is the website's moving really slow. Your website sucks, Complex. So, Event Horizon was on there. I remember that.
Okay.
But that's what I'm saying is, like, out of the 50, it's like what, like 10% or less is fantasy world horror movies. So that made me wonder, like, are real world horror movies just
more relatable or something like that to the audience? Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna say
not for you.
Not for me. I'm gonna say my safe answer would be it depends person to person. Mm-hmm. But according to People Complex, no.
Well, no, and watch me refute myself. You ready? Silent Hill scared the crap out of me when I first saw it. Like, it's a scary movie, and it's definitely fantasy horror. So.
But it also depends on, like, what is their definition of scary? Is it the amount that it scares you in the theater, or is it post theater?
Right.
So that's why the whole scariest thing, it's vague. It varies person to person.
It is vague.
But I'll say, you know what? I'll fight for fantasy. I like fantasy, so I'll say, fantasy
Fair
is
enough.
Equal. I'll say they're equal. So you say they're real is just
I just
one
think
above.
it just happens to be one notch above for me. I think that's, I don't know why. I just think that's how it works, because when I think about, like, to me, the movie that frightened me the most, both as a kid and as a young adult, I would say, is The Exorcist. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's pretty much real world. I mean, there's a little bit of fantasy stuff that happens.
No, you can't compare The Exorcist to Henry.
It's in a fucking bedroom.
Yeah, but it's the devil.
Yeah, but it's in a bedroom, and most. But
I did say the witch. But I did put the witch as real world.
Right. Well, I mean, there's no. I mean, the only supernatural thing that happens to the witch happens at the very end. Really.
True.
But you know, that's the thing is, I think that if I did my own personal, like, what were the top 5 movies that scared me the most, I have a feel, because Zodiac scared the shit out of me. Like,
yeah.
That's I know it's not true horror, but, you know, I just feel like I would just have more real world horror movies on the list. It wouldn't be on purpose; it would just happen. So.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, no, I think that's a good answer. One notch
but
above,
again,
and then
there are a lot more of them, I think.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'm gonna go with equal though. I feel
stick with it.
I feel comfortable now.
All right, what's the last question?
So the last one is, and you're gonna have to help me with this one. The Silent Hill. What the hell they call that alarm?
So this is really a fun word, klaxon.
Okay.
Right, but it's the air raid. It's the air raid siren.
Yeah, why don't they just call it
that? I don't know. It's called a klaxon. It looks like the name of an evil overlord.
Because I keep wanting to call it the Klingon, the Silent Hill Klingon.
Right, exactly. The Silent Hill air raid siren.
Okay, so the Silent Hill klaxon.
Yes.
Klaxon.
Yes.
Klaxon. Klax off. Is very scary. Yes. What are some other sound effects? Not music.
Yes.
Very important.
Yes.
That scared you.
What are the scary sounds of horror?
And I was thinking, so there's one. I mean, technically, I wanted this to be my answer, but it's a drum, which I guess would consider that music.
That's
so,
fine. Well, yeah.
So in Jumanji, whenever something bad is about to happen, these drums slowly start to come. So it's
really?
Yeah. And I was like, wow, that used to, because, like, you know, bad shit's about to happen. So I wanted to put down that. I put down on my that's my cheating answer on the list, but I came up with a few more, and to keep it tied in with Silent Hill and video games.
Sure.
The rest of these are all video game. Well, I guess one's both video game noises.
Okay.
So my first one would be in Left 4 Dead, hearing the witch cry. Mm-hmm. So every now and then when you play the game, there's these, like, pale, like, short little white women witches that are scattered throughout. And the thing is, when you get close to them,
this whole episode is witches and eyes.
I know, right? But when you get close to them, you hear them first crying, and you have to be really silent. You have to turn your flashlight off, or you have to try to kill them as fast as possible. But anytime you hear that witch crying, you usually have to you have to tweak your game plan.
Okay.
So to me, that's scary enough. It alters how you play.
Well, it's an actual threat to you, yeah.
Exactly. The next one I put is it from the game Dead by Daylight. There's a character called the Wraith, And for those who don't know what Dead by Daylight is, there's 4 survivors. You have to activate a handful of generators and then a door and escape. The only caveat to that is there's a killer trying to stop you from doing exactly that.
Right.
So and that game has like Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Leatherface, and then a handful of created like original.
No klaxon.
No klaxon. No klaxon, no klaxon. But the one that always freaks me out is the Wraith, because he has an item called the Wailing Bell. And he pretty much goes Predator. He just pure invisible. Sure. And then all of a sudden you hear like dung dung dung. This bell is ringing right behind you. You're just always sweating bullets when he has. So that's always every time you hear that. No. And also I based my decision off when it comes to the sound effects. Whenever you hear this sound, it's usually it's usually an alert. So I was sort of judging by that. And so this one's for both the movie and the video games, but I put the alien beep on the tracker because anytime you hear more than one, it's never a good sign. Yep. And then the last one that I have, I put from the game BioShock, the first one, as when you hear the Big Daddy scream. Because in the first game, they're pretty much like mini bosses scattered throughout the game, and so whenever you hear that, you either had to avoid them or fight them head on, and it was never an easy fight. Note, when I looked up this noise, someone had it on YouTube under the Big Daddy moan, and I was like, nope, we're gonna call it the scream. So those are my exactly. So those are my noises.
I love it. Honestly, I'm so impressed with how they did the air raid siren effect in Silent Hill and how because it's absolutely warning the character and everything goes black, so it's terrifying. But it's funny you said Predator because I'm going to go with the Predator clicks.
Oh yeah, I thought about doing that.
Right?
Yeah.
They were so good and they were so intimidating, and it was really unique. I'd never heard anything like that, but I looked it up, and that Predator clicking was inspired by the sound of a dying horseshoe crab.
What?
I don't know why they had a dying horseshoe crab or who heard a dying horseshoe crab, but they heard a dying horseshoe crab making its claw sounds, and then they were like, let's do Predator clicks. So, I mean, no animals were injured but one in the making of that movie.
Well, I believe it. Because I think the lightsaber noise was some guy walking past a VCR. Or no, he
ruin my whole childhood.
Walked past some sort of thing with something in his pocket and made like a vroom, and he was like, "Whoa, that's kind of good." So the dying horseshoe crab makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah,
I'm cool with it.
I'm also going to give a shout out to a perpetually underappreciated movie in horror, which is War of the Worlds, the Tom Cruise Spielberg one. And it's the tri-horn sound that those tripod things make. And honestly, everyone gives all the credit for like that kind of whatever everyone thinks about the Mist, like actually is in War of the Worlds, and it's weird, but that sound is so demoralizing somehow because this thing is just killing humans for like sport almost. I mean, it's vaporizing people, it's chewing them up and spitting them out as blood fragments. Like, it's just a nightmare machine. And that sound it makes is, we get the word berserk from Viking berserkers. So they used to get high and drunk, and then they would run into battle and they would scream their heads off. And it's an intimidation tactic.
Yeah.
You see a bunch of screaming Vikings running at you. They're clearly out of their minds and tripping balls. You're like, this
is your land now.
Right? But and I feel like that a tri-horn thing is like their intimidation, like because it's got almost like the sad trombone effect in it. It's almost like, well, you're all gonna die.
Good news, you're dead.
We just gotta go. And then I'm just gonna give a shout out to the absolute master of sound design in horror, who's David Lynch. Anytime he does electricity sound effects, they're terrifying. They're just straight up terrifying. There's like crackly, scratchy, and then all of a sudden someone will just turn into a golden ball or vaporize or or get like happened in the Twin Peaks: The Return when that couple in the black box room get like just savaged, right?
Yeah, that was. I think it was like the first episode.
And that electricity sound effect and that whooshing sounds that were behind it were like the sign that it was about to get really bad. And the characters didn't run, but they would have if they'd been Lynch fans.
They were like, "This is not good. No.
As soon as you hear that sound, you're like, you gotta get out. So yeah, that's my scary sound effects. But there's a lot more. I mean, obviously the chainsaw from Texas Chainsaw.
Mm-hmm. Freddy Krueger's little
nails,
knives and all that
scratch,
stuff made the list.
Absolutely. So that's awesome. That was fun. Now let's get into actual Silent Hill, right? So
30% off the top right now.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
I don't understand how it's 30%.
It's terrible. Now I'll kick this off with an interesting. Ebert actually sort of liked Silent Hill, which shocks me because he was kind of a prude when it came to horror, and it gets really extreme at the end of this movie. Yeah. And I'm surprised he even like made it through it, right? But he always has this an interesting. Well, nobody always has that, but he has this interesting thing where he says, it's just like mordantly funny line in his review where he goes, I don't understand the plot of this movie. He's like, I couldn't explain to you what happened in this movie, but the movie had too much explanation in it. He's like, I didn't understand it, but I wish they had done less explaining to me. And I thought that was like a fairish criticism of, kind of how the plot, I know the plot has confused a lot of people and how that hangs or whatever, but he would have given it higher than 30% because he said it's an amazing looking film. It was trying something unique, and it built a world with rules, and it was just gorgeous. He knew that it was just a really well made movie, and that's not even talking about the music yet, which I know you're going to get into a little bit, right? So, because the music's also amazing. So, I can see having some criticism of the movie, but putting it 30 is dog shit.
No. I just like the way even the film opens. I forget like half the names of all these songs, but when it just opens up to that like I don't know, that mandolin, whatever that is, just like plucking really fast.
Totally.
I forget. I don't know if that made it into one of the games, but I remember looking up the music for it like around the time the movie came out. And whenever that song would pop up, like it was instant, I'd nope out like real fast because it always just gave me the heebie-jeebies real quick. So the fact that they even open it up like that to the logo,
right,
is always very unsettling. But yeah, I think this is like I said earlier is probably one of the like the better shot films that we've done. And how low can we go? I know I've said it for like one or two other films, but this one really feels. Whenever I think something has like really great cinematography, I always think of like I always compare it to like a BBC show. Because every time
masterpiece,
everything they shoot's like fantastic. Back when they were still doing like good episodes of Top Gear and like Sherlock, or if that's on BBC.
Sure, totally.
Everything in the beginning is just I didn't know if I remembered liking the beginning of them trying to find their daughter.
I remember not liking it, and it's still my least favorite part of the movie.
I kind of liked it
really?
This time around. Yeah. I remember because I wanted to just get into like when I first saw the film. Back when it came out, I was like, just get to Silent Hill. Just get into the good stuff. Of course. But I liked the setup that they did with the daughter.
Actually, I'm lying. So maybe I'm not saying it right. I actually like the whole car sequence part. I just don't like the opening where they're chasing the daughter through the woods or whatever, which sucks because that's where your favorite shot is from. But
yeah,
it was just, I don't know, that. The weird thing is they had such a good actor in Sean Bean, and they almost didn't use him at all. And it was weird.
What do you think of the whole Sean Bean stuff? Him and trying to detective.
So it was sort of unnecessary, but one of the things I really, really like about this movie is the creepy overlapping. Like when they're in the same place at the same time but don't know it. And you need that. He needs to have some kind of mission. He needs to be searching for them for those moments to happen. And it's not a lot of the movie, so I'm okay with that part. But I mean, it's the most forgettable part of the movie for sure. To me, right?
And he's such a good actor too, so it's
right.
Like, come on, we can do a little more.
It was weird, but you know what? I almost appreciate that it was so female centric. Like, I think that's one of the sneaky things about this movie is it's really, really female oriented in terms of the characters, what they're trying to accomplish, what their anxieties are. And, you don't notice it because you think of it as a video game, a horror movie.
Yeah.
Right? But when you go back and you look at, that is sort of reminded me of The Descent in that way. Right?
Yeah. I can see that.
And then it made me, because I remember really loving The Descent. I've only seen it once, but I remember really, really digging it. But now I feel like the creatures are almost boring compared to Silent Hill because they're just
God.
They're scary. As shit.
They're great, and when you first see them, it's scary. But for someone like me who just loves creature features, like I forgot how much I loved the designs of everything that's filmed, and even sometimes in I've seen other like horror Facebook pages shit on CGI and talk about how great practical effects are. I personally love both, and I think both can be.
You just like when it's done well.
I think when it's done well, right. And I think Silent Hill still holds up pretty well.
It holds up amazingly well. That one dude with the barbed wire in his mouth and he's like folded in half.
Yeah,
is just that is just terrifying. I feel like when movies are like 10D 50 years from now, when they're like, when they're projected all around you and like you're in a planetarium, I feel like you could still go back and watch this movie and that guy will still be scary.
Yes.
He's not going anywhere.
Even the walking bag of shit looked great, which is what he should have been credited as. The walking bag of diarrhea.
He totally should have. And I don't know why that Rose, the main character of this, I can't find her on a single, I know we hate the phrase, quote unquote, final girl list anywhere on the entire internet. And she's amazing. Her character's amazing. She's tough. She's real. She's believable. She's not perfect. She's smart. She's resourceful. I think it's an amazing character.
It's when you say it, because when you were like saying she's smart, resourceful. I was like, yeah, and she never gave up, because the first thing when you see like those like flaming babies and like they're grabbing onto her, I was watching it in my head going, yeah, no, I just fold.
Dude, when Pyramid Head comes in and he's got all the bugs with him,
oh my god,
it's just over. Just literally eat a gun, because and no, but she's on this mission for her daughter, and it's really, but that's the thing, is one of the things that makes this interesting is, like in a video game, she's retrieving clues.
Yes.
To figure things out. She has to reach into that one guy's mouth to get that little hotel.
Oh, and it says like I double dare you,
clue.
like double dare you.
Yeah, and oh, holy crap. But that's the thing, is, and she acted it so well. Like, it was very believable when she finally reached into the mouth and pulled away, and you're expecting him to bite. Like, I don't know about you, but
absolutely.
Whatever. But she's figuring out clues, and her partner, the cop, is figuring out stuff too, and because that's the
Officer
structure of a video game.
That's what I was calling her.
That's awesome.
Mind your own damn business.
But yeah, I think that this is really underrated in terms of, when I go back and I look at like a piece of crap movie like the Friday the 13th remake. It was okay, but it's definitely like bottom tier of horror to me. But you look at how bland and cut out those characters are, and then you stack them against something like this, and I just think it's no contest.
I like the little flares they did in the film too. So after like the flaming babies got her and she got away, her waking up to the ring of fire from Johnny Cash.
That was awesome.
That was
great. Really cool.
I'm looking at some of the more the notes I took here, and you mentioned like the world having its rules, and one of the things I really enjoyed was the canary in the coal mine thing, like when right before the bathroom scene. I just love how everyone in that town knew, like, once that siren goes off, nope, you gotta quit, stop what you're doing.
And it led to that amazing shot, which, damn, I should change my answer. The shot of the birds above the church tower.
Oh yeah,
when the air raid siren starts to go, it's just, it's so gothic, cool, like, just really, really cool shot.
Yeah, and what do you think of towards the end of the film when Rose, God, I can't remember the name of the burnt kid. What did you think about that?
So,
because they kind of just shoehorn it at the very end. It's like, by the way, here's the story.
Yeah, I saw a lot of hate for the ending, and I gotta say that I kind of love it. And I think the first time I watched Silent Hill, the end was actually my favorite part of the whole movie.
The ending of the church or the end?
Well, both.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I get how it's sort of tossed into the movie, but that like avenging child rising up in that barbed wire, and then I forgot how Carrie that scene was.
Oh yeah,
like just but manipulating the barbed wire to, and I thought that was kind of great. And then the girl dancing in the blood shower was absolutely awesome. Just a great. I mean, I mean when Rose stands up and you've got that fire image behind her, and then those Latin words.
Oh, and then that organ kicks in.
Yeah, it just gives me chills. It's such a great shot. Right?
That is, the note I made for that was this part.
It was great.
Like I loved it.
It was so good. I mean, just it was executed so well. And the colors were great, and that was another thing I noticed, which was really cool. Was the villainess, the cult leader. Mm-hmm. She was one of the few people in the movie that had any color to her.
Oh yeah,
and then Rose had red, right? And it was interesting because everyone else is sort of like washed out and all that stuff, whatever. But that scene got real vivid. Mm-hmm. Like the colors got real vivid, and it was just such a great gear shift into, from what we've been looking at Silver and Gray for like an hour and 20,
for the longest time, or Rust.
Yeah, totally. And then, I mean, honestly, that's the thing is when you go back and you look at some of the scenes where so I get that there might have been, like Ebert said, too much explaining.
There was one part in the film where, like, if I could just erase like that little, like mute that little bit of dialogue, because I thought it was a little ridiculous, was when Rose first gets to Silent Hill, and they make it look like it's snowing, and then she like rolls her finger, and then like over her shoulder you hear her go, "Ash." Like I was like, no, come on, like you don't need to explain that. Like we get it. Like that had to have been like someone in the studio going, "Yeah, audience, oh yeah, they're a bunch of dum-dums. Let them know it's Ash."
Ash, like, absolutely. Well, there is like that flashback scene that sort of explains.
That's what I meant. Like that kind of was shoehorned in. Like
that,
by the way,
I did not like. That went way too long.
Oh my god! Because I watched most of the film, and then the time for you to come over to record was so I was trying to like skip over the parts I knew I absolutely remembered, and I kind of like scrubbed through on the Amazon player like, wow, that scene kind of goes on for a long time.
Exactly. It's a pretty hefty scene, so I don't know.
And there wasn't really a whole lot explaining that whole thing earlier in the film. It just sort of felt like,
yeah, totally.
It just felt like, hey, we're in the third act. Here's this.
It had its creepy elements. Some of the images in that scene were kind of cool. It was just overlong.
That's probably my biggest gripe with the film. Everything else I really like. I love the pacing of the film. Her discovering, it feels like. Like you could segment the film, like for creature to creature. You can almost segment like, okay, this is the burning baby thing. Yep. This is the walking bag of diarrhea scene. Yep. This is the this is the pyramid head scene. Yep. And that's how I sort of remember the film. Was like it wasn't like set pieces; it was like creature pieces.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
And that for me,
which you was perfect.
And that is like my perfect perfect film.
Right. And so, but here's the one. I'm gonna give a sideways shout out to. One of my favorite horror movies of all time is called Witchfinder General. It's a Vincent Price movie. And I cannot believe I forgot that this happened in this movie. I can't believe something so traumatic looking is something that I just completely forgot ever was a thing. But in Witchfinder General, they burn the witch. They kill one of the witches by tying her to a ladder and then lowering her slowly over the fire. And that happens in this movie to the cop. And it's horrible.
I still can't.
It's so horrible. It's so hard to watch. But it's just it's a direct, like literally homage to one of my favorite movies. So I just think that's outstanding. But
and it still looks gross too.
Yeah,
and I think that CGI still holds up.
Yeah, and the acting there was amazing too. I felt like
that was Andrea from Walking Dead.
Yep.
Officer Nosy.
Officer Nosy. and then well, I'm going to get to the ending. So what else you got?
The only note that I had was when Rose got into the elevator and she drops her necklace, and the cult leader sort of she opens it up and she sees the girl. My only note was if I was the cop and she would have like she's a witch, I would have turned around and been, what? Is she really? Oh man, I had no idea.
Oh,
That's so crazy. And then I would have pulled the thing, and she went down, give her a little wink, you know. But I would have just so she knows we're cool. Like, by the way, you go do your thing and help finish the movie. But in the eyes of the cult leader, I don't want to get the shit beat out of me by lead pipes.
No.
So I would have tried to play both sides.
Yeah,
I probably would have.
I expect that out of you in any of those situations.
But it would still end the same way. It still would have been with me burning, like, God damn it. Can't say I didn't try.
It didn't work. I actually really dug that in that scene or near that scene when Rose was trying to memorize the move she was going to make. Just like you would in a video game, right? But
it sounded like she was for a second there, and I'm sure like one quick Google search will let me know, but it almost sounded like she was doing the old school Konami code, which is like left, right, up, down, or left, right, up, down. BA starts like it was something like that. Sure. I thought she was gonna do that, and I was like, no, they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna be that on the nose.
It was really cool though. She was. That's one of the things I feel like is missing from the Resident Evil movies is that Alice is like this superhuman, like, but doesn't it evidence a lot of intelligence in most of the movies, right? Power, yes, but like the smarts, no. And I think that's one thing that this movie really got right.
Kind of flips it, and it works out great.
Which is cool.
So now the ending. I really, really like the ending.
I love the ending. I love this ending.
Because it's part of me still wants to have like, they call up Sean Bean, and they're like, hey, we forget your name in the movie. You're Sean Bean. We're coming home. And I really liked what they did with the electronics in the film too. Whenever because they establish when the walking bag of shit comes up to them that it scrambles. So then which they call home, it's scrambly.
Yep.
And every time I watch it though, I'm still like, all right, they're gonna go back into the real world and see their, have a great big happy family, live happily ever after.
Yep.
No.
No. But it's heartbreaking.
Yes.
Right? That and this movie has no right to be that heartbreaking. It's a video game horror movie. But it's really wrenching at the end. And that's what I mean is like Sean Bean actually they let him act for like the last 30 seconds, right? But it's the thing that really got to me. I mean, this really bothered me. It got in my head at the end of this was there's a scene prior in the movie where he sort of senses that his wife's near in Silent Hill in the building, and that means that he's going to go through the rest of his life sort of feeling like she's around.
Yes,
that's hard. That's
that is not going to be
right. But there's actually I think the movie Dark Water is a little bit underrated, and that also coincidentally is starring an amazing actress was Jennifer Connelly. And it's sort of similar at the end because she's with her daughter, but her dead daughter. And there's that mother-daughter bond that, is, I don't know, there's a punch that gets packed there with that. It's just really, really strong. And even the visuals to that. It's funny because I'm not a big fan of Sixth Sense.
Yes.
But I got a Sixth Sense-ish vibe at the end of this thing.
Yeah,
and it wasn't a twist. But
it
was just that weird otherworldly vibe, and I just liked it so much better here.
I did too, and I'm sort of glad it didn't give us like the happy family comes home and everyone has it, because then it keeps the whole it stays in tune with like the vibe the film just spent the past hour and 50 minutes setting up.
Totally,
and it's also shot beautifully too.
Right, absolutely. And let's be honest, when they remake it in 5 years, when Platinum Dune remakes it with starring Sam Rockwell, it'll be a happy ending. So.
I do. Okay, so the cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. I do think it's a little weird that the last shot is Sean Bean at the door, and then they slowly dolly over to bushes, to bushes, and then it's like Silent Hill.
It's funny you said that because when we used to do horror trivia on our Facebook page more frequently than we do now, just because it's harder to do things now that people can't just instantly Google. Right?
Yeah.
And one of the things we did was we would take a screenshot from a movie and then have people try to guess the movie, right? and we would manipulate it so they can't image search it as easily, whatever. And the two that were hardest for people to get, actually the three that were hardest for people to guess, were that shot from Silent Hill I put up, and it was literally like 200 guesses before someone got it.
Wait, the bushes?
Yeah. No one guessed
We've done the bushes?
We've done them. I did that because I was like, how random is that? Because that's the thing is you got to pick up shot from the movie where you don't remember that being there and you're like, that's really weird that that's even there, right? I did that on our Facebook
Wow.
page. Because I was like, who would guess that this movie ended with bushes? Right? I didn't remember
Especially Silent Hill when you think of like that rusty,
right.
Color, yeah.
Now, I mean, her name's Rose, and it's possible there's some roses in there, and there's possible there's something symbolic going on. I don't know.
At the end of the day, it's a goddamn bush.
Right, exactly.
I can't.
The other two that were hard to guess was I took a picnic scene from Final Destination. It was just like the table and food, and no one could guess that.
I remember the third one.
And the best one we ever did was the opening shot of The Blob.
Yes.
Where it was just the clouds.
It's like Ireland or something like that, right?
Yeah. It's just a really cool shot.
Isn't that what where they actually shot it, or had something to do with Ireland? Am I wrong?
I don't
Maybe
remember.
that's the reverse image search that I got, and I'm actually wrong. It's completely off the mark.
But anyway, you're right. That shot was pretty random.
It seemed like they did the shot in reverse. Like you started the bush. I don't know.
I wish it had done what you did just now on this episode where you were like, and then bushes, Silent Hill, everybody.
The music for the credits was a little weird. It was that like mid 2000s kind of rockish kind of deal, and I'm like, man, you got like one of the because the composer for the game supervised the music for this. I'm like, you got some like baller ass music in this film, and you're gonna go to like this rocky stuff. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it would.
That's pretty. Yeah, that kind of blows the atmosphere
a little bit, just a little bit. I'm sure not. It doesn't matter that much to a lot of people, but it's just like,
All right, where are we rating this movie? Where are you gonna put it?
Easy enough for me right now. I can say that this film for me.
We're going to wave the Hello Weekly wand and move it on Rotten Tomatoes from where it is to...
This is easily like 75%.
75%.
75%.
Yeah, I'm going to take a gamble and I'm going to go 80.
I knew you were going to go 80.
I'm just going to go at even 80. I get the flaws and the other things, but I mean, honestly, one of the things that I've been doing with the How Low Can We Go series that now that I didn't do when we started it was I've kind of have like the expectation meter. So almost all of these movies now I've seen once but a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like Silver Bullet, right? So like then the thing is there have been some movies like Bad Moon that took me by surprise, right? Where I was like, I remember liking it when I saw it, but now I really, really like it. Right? This movie just is exactly where it was from the other two times I saw it. It's the same. It's never changed. Like I thought it was great then I thought it was great again, and now I still think it's great. This is the third time.
When I rewatch it in 4 years, I'll think of it just the same.
When they do that crappy remake and I get mad and I pull out the original, I'm gonna be like, this movie's a 80% movie. So I think it's really well done, really unique, and I know some subgenres of horror are small, you know, like whatever shark movies, right? For example.
Yeah.
But when you're the best in your category, I feel like that should count for something.
Yeah, out of all the other like horror games made into movies, I still think this is better than like all the Resident Evils. Even though I really like the first Resident Evil, I still think Silent Hill is a better movie. What the fuck else is...
And I really liked Resident Evil Extinction. But again, it's fun. It's a ride. It's like a horror, but like it has none of this emotional... It packs none of the emotional punch that this movie does.
Yeah. Or the big thing for me is like, the visuals are great. The music's great. I loved the characters. The Sean Bean stuff, the whole detective thing was probably the weakest part of the film.
Sure.
But other than that, like the creatures were great too. And to me, it felt most like the first Resident Evil movie didn't feel like any of the Resident Evil games. Mm-hmm. The Silent Hill movie felt like the Silent Hill games. Yes. And I think that's the most important part for like a gamer's perspective towards a game being adapted to film.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is like one of the things. It's a horror movie. It should be scary, right? So like I swear to God, if Godzilla from the Godzilla remake came around the corner and I saw him out the window, I'd be like, Part of me be like, run, but part of me be like, yeah. I mean, let's see what he does, right? Like,
We got to figure it out.
Whatever. But like, if Pyramid Head comes around the corner, I will hit a land speed record. Like, I wouldn't even think about it. There'll be a me-shaped hole in the wall.
It'll look like like a cartoon, like Wile E. Coyote or something running.
So, I mean, it's just genuinely terrifying, and it held up as so. So, Halo Weekly recommends.
Yep, it gets the
Silent Hill.
Halo Weekly seal of approval.
We have survived the Hollow Can We Go series from 59%, and now we're about to delve into the 20s.
Oof.
And we'll see. I mean, we've been good so far. We've had some great movies.
Yeah, I've only had one non-recommendation. That was Texas Chainsaw 2. Mm-hmm. And you had a few. I don't remember what they were off the top of my head.
I don't remember having any that were like a real hard pass. So it's been.
But mine wasn't like a hard pass. It was just a personal.
True.
I did not enjoy this film.
I did have a couple. No, I don't remember what they are, but yeah. I mean, scanning ahead into the 20s, I see "Deliver Us from Evil." I think is next at 29%, mm-hmm. And then I know Event Horizons.
We've been talking about Event Horizon since we started. We're like, Event Horizon's on the list.
Yeah, it's our lifeline.
I haven't realized
in case things start to really get bad.
Yeah, and I haven't realized like how far away like that actually was once we started talking about how excited we are to
watch some doofus write a review that Rotten Tomatoes rates and it bounced up to like 33%, and we're gonna keep talking about it, and then we're gonna be at like 19%. Wait a minute.
No,
where the hell's Event
If it
Horizon?
moves, we're still doing it. Because we've waited this long to do Event Horizon.
All right, well, fair enough.
So I'm excited for that. So let us know if you agree with our review and what we thought of Silent Hill. Mm-hmm. And until next time, watch a bunch of horror movies and stay scary.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.